The soft hum of quantum computers filled the basement laboratory at MIT as Dr. Sarah Chen rubbed her tired eyes. The clock on her desk showed 2:37 a.m., but she couldn't tear herself away from the anomalous readings on her monitor. For the past 3 weeks, her quantum coherence experiments had been showing increasingly strange patterns that defied explanation. "This can't be right," she muttered, adjusting her glasses as she leaned closer to the screen. The quantum interference patterns she'd been recording showed clear signs of external manipulation. At first, she'd assumed it was equipment malfunction, then solar activity, but now... Sarah pulled up the historical data and overlaid it with the current readings. Her hands trembled slightly as she created a three-dimensional visualization of the pattern. The holographic display above her desk sprang to life, showing a complex series of waves that pulsed with an unnaturally perfect rhythm. Her phone buzzed. Dr. James Martinez from the Arecibo Observatory was calling, which was unusual at this hour. "Sarah, are you seeing this?" His voice carried an edge of excitement and concern that made her sit up straighter. "If you're talking about the quantum interference patterns, yes. I've been tracking them for weeks," she replied, still staring at the holographic display. "Not just patterns anymore," James said. "We're picking up massive objects decelerating from faster-than-light speeds. Multiple objects, Sarah. They're arranged in a perfect geometric formation." Her heart skipped a beat. "Send me the data." The information appeared on her screen moments later. Sarah's hands flew across the haptic interface, combining the astronomical data with her quantum readings. The correlation was undeniable. The interference patterns she detected were wake signatures from ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. "How many?" she asked, her mouth dry. 17 large objects so far, each roughly the size of Manhattan. They'll be visible to the naked eye within 6 hours. Sarah's mind raced with implications. The quantum signatures suggest their propulsion system uses principles similar to my coherence research. "James, we need to alert." A sharp tone from her computer interrupted her. New data was pouring in as more objects emerged from FTL. The holographic display expanded, showing dozens, then hundreds of new signatures appearing in a precise crystalline formation. "My God," James whispered over the phone. "They're not just ships, it's an entire fleet." Sarah was already sending emergency notifications to her superiors at DARPA and NASA. "Have you contacted the Planetary Defense Office?" "They're aware. Look outside." Sarah rushed to the small window of her basement lab. Emergency vehicles were racing down Massachusetts Avenue, their sirens piercing the early morning quiet. In the distance, she could see military aircraft taking off from Logan International Airport. Her phone buzzed with an emergency alert. "This is not a drill. Unknown objects detected in near-Earth space. Please remain calm and follow official instructions." The first images from orbital telescopes appeared on her screen. The alien ships were unlike anything from science fiction. Massive crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them, arranged in formations that hurt her eyes to look at directly. Their surfaces rippled with colors that shouldn't exist, suggesting technology that operated on principles beyond human understanding. "Sarah," James's voice was barely a whisper now. "They're powering up something. The energy readings are off the charts." Before she could respond, a brilliant light flashed outside her window. The ground shook as precision strikes hit key military installations around Boston. Similar reports flooded in from around the globe. The aliens were conducting a coordinated first strike, yet carefully avoiding civilian populations and, strangely, any major computing facilities. As emergency sirens wailed across Cambridge, Sarah stared at her quantum interference data with growing realization. The aliens' technical superiority was overwhelming, but they'd just given her a crucial piece of information. They considered Earth's computing technology worth preserving. Now she just had to figure out why, and how to use that knowledge to humanity's advantage. Sarah stared at the alien device recovered from a downed scout ship, its crystalline surface pulsing with a soft, otherworldly light. After a week of careful study in the underground lab, She'd finally begun to understand why the invaders had dismissed human technology as primitive, and why that assumption might be their undoing. Their entire system is based on quantum entanglement, she explained to the assembled team of engineers and military officials. Not just their communications, but their entire computing architecture. It's elegant, instantaneous, and completely inflexible. Dr. Raj Patel, a quantum computing expert from India's Defense Ministry, nodded in agreement. They've achieved perfect quantum coherence at a massive scale, something we thought impossible. But they've also trapped themselves inside a technological dead end. Colonel Martinez frowned. Explain it to those of us who don't speak quantum. Sarah pulled up a holographic comparison of human and alien computing systems. Think of it like two different transportation networks. The aliens have built the equivalent of a perfect, high-speed rail system. Every part moves in precise coordination, incredibly fast and efficient, but it can only follow its predetermined tracks. And we're still driving cars, Martinez said, beginning to understand. Exactly. Sarah's eyes lit up. Our technology is messier, slower in some ways, but infinitely more adaptable. We can go off-road, change routes, make last-minute decisions. The aliens don't even seem to have a concept of independent computing units anymore. The hologram shifted to show captured footage of alien ships reacting to Earth's defenses. Look here, when we manage to disrupt their formation even slightly, they take 3.7 times longer to respond. They have to reach consensus across their entire network before taking action. Dr. Patel stepped forward, pointing to a series of equations. We've also noticed their quantum network showing signs of straying when dealing with multiple unexpected variables. They've optimized for perfection, not adaptation. A young programmer from Silicon Valley, Alex Chen, no relation to Sarah, raised her hand. Could we use conventional computer viruses against them? Something that exploits their network's rigidity. Sarah smiled. That's exactly what we're thinking. Their quantum systems are so advanced that they don't have any defenses against primitive electronic attacks. It would be like a modern electric grid having no protection against someone throwing rocks at the power lines. They never considered it a threat. The room buzzed with excitement as the implications sank in. Humanity's apparent technological inferiority might be their greatest asset. The aliens had evolved past traditional computing, leaving them vulnerable to its simpler, more robust nature. We'll need a test case, Martinez said, his tactical mind already working on implementation, something small-scale to prove the concept. Sarah nodded, pulling up a map of recent alien movements. They've been systematically connecting captured human facilities to their network, probably trying to understand how we manage to coordinate without quantum entanglement. We might be able to use one of these facilities to introduce our code into their system. Like a digital Trojan horse, Alex mused. But what kind of code could affect a quantum network? Something elegant, Dr. Patel suggested. A program that looks simple on the surface but forces their network to handle increasing complexity. Sarah's fingers danced across her keyboard, bringing up simulation models. What if we designed it to act like a quantum observer? Force their perfect system to deal with the uncertainty principle at a massive scale. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The aliens had built their entire civilization around avoiding quantum uncertainty through perfect entanglement. Forcing them to confront it could shatter their carefully maintained order. Outside the reinforced bunker, they could hear the distant sound of alien ships continuing their methodical advance. Their crystalline forms still dominated the skies, but for the first time since the invasion began, humanity had found a glimmer of hope in their own supposed shortcomings. Get to work, Martinez ordered, his voice firm with newfound confidence. We need this test program ready within 48 hours. The aliens think they've mastered the quantum realm, but they're about to learn that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. The holographic war room hummed with activity as Colonel Martinez outlined his unconventional battle strategy. Red dots representing alien ships moved in perfect geometric patterns, across the tactical display, while blue markers showed Earth's remaining military assets scattered across the globe. This is either brilliant or suicide, General Thompson said, studying the proposed attack patterns. Probably both. Martinez gestured to the simulation playing out before them. The aliens expect us to defend key strategic positions. Instead, we're going to attack in seemingly random patterns, forcing them to respond to multiple threats simultaneously. Sarah stepped forward, her laptop displaying lines of code she and Alex had developed. Their quantum network is like a perfectly tuned orchestra. We're going to make them play 1,000 different songs at once. The simulation showed human forces engaging in what appeared to be chaotic, uncoordinated attacks across different continents. Each engagement forced the alien fleet to adjust their formations while maintaining quantum coherence. The key is gradual escalation, Martinez explained. If we hit them with too much chaos at once, they'll simply overwhelm us with brute force. But if we slowly increase the complexity of their decision-making process, like boiling a frog, Dr. Patil interjected, we slowly push their network towards a critical failure state. Alex pulled up diagrams showing the progression of their virus through conventional computer systems. We've designed the program to look like normal network traffic. Once it reaches their quantum interfaces, it begins introducing minute calculation errors, nothing big enough to trigger their defenses, but enough to create a cascade of uncertainty in their quantum calculations. Sarah pointed to specific sections of the code. The beauty is in its simplicity. We're not trying to match their quantum computing capability. We're using basic binary code to force quantum uncertainty into their perfect system. General Thompson frowned. How do we know they won't simply isolate the affected systems? Because they can't, Sarah explained with a hint of satisfaction. Their entire fleet operates as a single quantum-entangled entity. Isolating part of their network would be like trying to remove a single thread from a tapestry while keeping the pattern intact. It would collapse their entire command structure. Martinez manipulated the holographic display, showing the locations of captured human facilities. We've identified 3 primary targets where they've interfaced their systems with ours. Small research stations they probably considered too insignificant to destroy. Pride comes before a fall, Dr. Patel said softly, even for advanced alien civilizations. The room fell silent as Martinez initiated another simulation. This time, the human attacks appeared more coordinated, but still unpredictable. The alien formations shifted and adjusted, their response times gradually increasing as their network struggled to process the mounting complexity. We'll need perfect timing, Martinez said. Every military unit needs to understand their role while appearing to act independently. The aliens need to believe they're facing desperate, uncoordinated resistance. Sarah opened a secure channel to military commands worldwide. We've prepared detailed instructions for each unit. The virus is ready for deployment, disguised as routine system diagnostics. Once it reaches their quantum interface, we'll have approximately 12 minutes before they detect the infiltration. 12 minutes to change the course of the war, General Thompson mused. When do we start? Martinez looked at Sarah, who nodded confidently. The next alien patrol reaches the first target facility in 6 hours. We launch then. As the command staff dispersed to prepare their forces, Sarah returned to her workstation. The alien device they'd studied still pulsed with its ethereal light, but now she saw it differently. What had seemed like an insurmountable technological advantage had become a vulnerability, all because its creators had never imagined facing an enemy they considered primitive. She thought about the countless science fiction stories where humanity faced technologically superior invaders. The reality had turned out to be both simpler and more complex than anyone had imagined. Sometimes the best way to defeat advanced technology wasn't to match it, but to think in ways its creators had forgotten. Dawn broke over the Rockies as Sarah watched the first phase of their plan unfold. A squadron of F-35s emerged from a hidden mountain base, deliberately flying in an erratic pattern that would draw alien attention. On her screen, the crystalline ships responded exactly as predicted, adjusting their formation to intercept. Sierra 1 is away. Martinez's voice crackled through the command center speakers. Response time logged at 2.3 seconds. Sarah noted the data, watching as similar scenarios played out across the globe. In the South China Sea, a fleet of autonomous submarines launched seemingly uncoordinated attacks against alien positions. Over the Sahara, hypersonic drones darted between alien formations, their movements purposefully chaotic. Package Alpha is in position. Alex reported from her station, monitoring the virus's distribution. Beginning upload through the Norwegian facility. Dr. Patel's fingers flew across his keyboard, tracking the quantum interference patterns. Their network is responding. Processing load up 12% and climbing. The alien ships maintained their perfect geometric formations, but Sarah could see the subtle signs of strain. Their response times were fractionally slower with each new engagement, their movements becoming more rigid as their quantum network struggled to process the increasing complexity. Remarkable, Dr. Patel murmured, studying the data. They're actually increasing quantum coherence to compensate, making themselves more vulnerable to our next phase. A warning light flashed on Sarah's display. Multiple alien formations approaching the Pacific Defense Line. They're taking the bait. The massive holographic display showed hundreds of crystalline ships moving to counter what appeared to be a major human offensive. Their formations rippled with impossible colors as they maintained their precise spacing, even while spreading their forces thin. Package Beta deployed through Asian Hub, Alex announced. Upload successful. No signs of detection. Martinez's tactical overlay highlighted the alien fleet's distribution. Nearly 70% of their ships had moved to counter the perceived threats, creating exactly the kind of network stress they'd hoped for. Indian Ocean Group reporting ready, a voice called out. Final package in position. Sarah took a deep breath, her finger hovering over the activation command. Everything hinged on this moment. Initiating final phase. Virus deployment in 3, 2, 1. Across 3 continents, hidden programs activated simultaneously. The code, disguised as routine system diagnostics, slipped through the aliens' quantum interfaces. To their advanced sensors, it would appear as nothing more than background noise, the kind of inefficient data transfer they'd come to expect from primitive human systems. First quantum fluctuations detected, Dr. Patel reported, excitement creeping into his voice. Their network coherence is starting to destabilize. On the main display, the alien formations continued their methodical responses to human attacks, unaware that their perfect quantum communication system was about to encounter something it had never been designed to handle: organized chaos. Package processing at 30%, Alex called out. No defensive response detected. Sarah watched the quantum interference patterns, holding her breath. The aliens' overconfidence in their technology had led them to interface directly with captured human facilities, creating the very backdoor humanity needed. 60%, Alex continued. Their quantum network is trying to compensate by increasing coherence. Exactly as predicted, Sarah whispered. Like a martial artist using an opponent's strength against them, they were turning the aliens' quest for perfect coordination into a vulnerability. The first visible signs of disruption appeared in the Australian sector. A group of alien ships briefly fell out of formation before snapping back into position, their movements becoming noticeably more mechanical. Package integration complete, Alex announced triumphantly. The virus is fully deployed in their network. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she watched the alien fleet continue its precise maneuvers, still unaware of the chaos about to unfold within their perfect system. Sometimes, she reflected, the most elegant trap was the one that looked exactly like what your enemy expected to see. The first sign that their plan had worked came as a shimmering distortion in the alien formations over Tokyo. A single crystalline ship drifted 43 centimeters out of position, an infinitesimal error by human standards, but catastrophic for the quantum-linked fleet. Quantum coherence destabilizing in Sector 7, Dr. Patel announced, his eyes fixed on the readings. Their network is attempting to compensate, but the corrections are causing cascading errors. Sara watched as the disruption spread like ripples through the alien fleet. Their perfect formations began to show microscopic imperfections that grew with each attempted correction. The virus wasn't attacking their systems directly. It was simply introducing enough uncertainty to make their own quest for perfection tear them apart. Multiple formations showing signs of coordination loss. Martinez reported from the tactical station. Response times dropping to human levels. They're actually having to think and react individually. On the main display, the alien ship's movements became increasingly erratic. Their attempts to maintain formation now worked against them, as each correction amplified the quantum uncertainty spreading through their network. Beijing Squadron, you are clear to engage, Martinez commanded. Show them what real combat chaos looks like. A wing of Chinese J-20 stealth fighters swooped through a fragmenting alien formation. In the past, such an attack would have met perfect, coordinated resistance. Now, the crystalline ships responded sluggishly, their movements no longer synchronized. Their quantum network is experiencing a cascading collapse, Alex reported, monitoring the virus of progress. They're trying to purge our code, but it's forcing them to process too many quantum states simultaneously. Sara pulled up the quantum interference patterns. Look at this. They're attempting to reestablish coherence by increasing the entanglement density. They're actually making it worse. The alien ship's surfaces flickered with rapidly shifting colors as their systems struggled to maintain control. Some vessels froze in place, overwhelmed by conflicting quantum information. Others began moving in seemingly random patterns, their perfect coordination shattered. Multiple enemy ships withdrawing from combat, a voice called out from the global tactical network. Similar reports began flooding in from around the world as the alien fleet struggled to cope with their collapsing command structure. Dr. Patel's expression was one of scientific fascination. Their entire system was built on the assumption of perfect quantum coherence. They never developed protocols for operating independently. Each ship is trying to maintain its connection to the network, but they're only amplifying the uncertainty. Sara watched as a group of alien vessels attempted to reform their geometric pattern over the Pacific. Their movements were hesitant, like dancers trying to perform with broken legs. They're not used to dealing with imperfection, she observed. They don't know how to adapt. All units, press the advantage, Martinez ordered. Coordinate at the squadron level, but maintain tactical flexibility. Show them what human combat doctrine can do. Earth's military forces, trained for centuries in independent action and adaptable tactics, surged forward. Fighter squadrons broke into smaller, unpredictable units. Ground-based weapons targeted the now vulnerable alien ships with conventional but effective attacks. Their quantum network is approaching total collapse, Alex announced. Individual ships are starting to shut down rather than operate without perfect coordination. Sara studied the readings with a mixture of triumph and scientific curiosity. The aliens' technological superiority had become their greatest weakness. Their perfect system, unable to handle the uncertainty they'd spent generations engineering away, was unraveling before their eyes. We didn't beat their technology, she realized. We beat their assumptions. They became so focused on perfection that they forgot the value of resilience. As the alien fleet's formation continued to dissolve into chaos, humanity's forces pressed their advantage. The invaders' perfect coordination had been replaced by hesitation and confusion, while Earth's military units demonstrated the strength that comes from embracing imperfection and adaptation. Colonel Martinez stood at the command center's main display, coordinating Earth's counteroffensive with calculated precision. The holographic map showed alien ships scattered across the globe, their once perfect formations now broken into isolated groups struggling to operate independently. Atlantic Fleet reporting successful engagement, a naval officer announced. 3 alien vessels neutralized. They attempted to maintain formation even while under fire, making them predictable targets. Sarah analyzed the quantum readings from her station. Their ships are attempting to establish smaller local networks, but they can't maintain stable coherence. It's like they've forgotten how to think as individuals. Incoming transmission from the Pacific Command, Alex called out. The Japanese Self-Defense Force has developed a new tactic. They're using electronic warfare systems to broadcast random quantum noise, further disrupting alien coordination attempts. Dr. Patel quickly adapted their virus to incorporate this new strategy. Brilliant. The more they try to reestablish their network, the more vulnerable they become to signal interference. Their perfect system has become a perfect weakness. On the tactical display, human forces moved with practiced flexibility. Fighter squadrons broke into smaller units, each adapting their tactics moment by moment. Ground-based defenses coordinated loosely but effectively, sharing information while maintaining operational independence. Multiple alien ships attempting emergency quantum reconnection over Europe, a technician reported. The main screen showed several crystalline vessels moving into close formation, their surfaces pulsing with desperate intensity. They're trying to create a backup network, Sarah realized. Direct all available electronic warfare assets to that sector. Don't let them re-establish coherence. Martinez nodded, already relaying orders. All European units, converge on those coordinates. Time to show them what coordinated chaos looks like. A combined force of European fighters and drones swarmed the alien formation. The crystalline ships, struggling to operate without their quantum network, responded with clumsy, uncoordinated movements. Their advanced weapons, designed for perfect synchronization, proved surprisingly ineffective when forced to target independently. Look at their energy weapon dispersion, Dr. Patel observed. Without quantum targeting, they're barely more accurate than our conventional systems. Sarah watched as human forces exploited this newfound vulnerability. Decades of training in independent action and tactical adaptation were paying off. Each military unit operated with initiative while maintaining loose coordination through conventional communications, something the aliens seemed unable to grasp. Russian Aerospace Defense reporting successful containment of alien forces over Siberia, Alex announced. They're using terrain-following tactics to break up remaining alien formations. The enemy ships keep trying to regroup at high altitudes where they can maintain line of sight. They can't help themselves, Sarah said. Their entire military doctrine is built around maintaining quantum coherence. They literally don't know how to fight any other way. The tactical display updated continuously as reports flowed in from around the world. Alien ships were being systematically isolated and neutralized. Some attempted to retreat to high orbit, while others seemed to freeze in place, their command and control systems paralyzed by the loss of quantum coordination. Chinese Space Command reporting activity in low Earth orbit, Martinez announced. The aliens are attempting to consolidate their remaining ships around their primary command vessel. Sarah studied the quantum readings from the orbital engagement. Their flagship is trying to establish a new network hub, but they're fighting against their own programming. Every attempt to reconnect just introduces more quantum uncertainty. All orbital defense platforms target these coordinates, Martinez ordered. Don't let them establish a foothold up there. The space-based battle unfolded on auxiliary screens as humanity's satellite defense network engaged the alien fleet's remnants. The invaders' attempts to reform their perfect formations in zero gravity only made them more vulnerable to concentrated fire from multiple angles. Dr. Patel looked up from his calculations with a satisfied smile. They came expecting to find primitive savages. Instead, they found survivors who had mastered the art of adapting to imperfection. Perhaps that's the greatest technology of all. The sunrise over Cape Canaveral painted the sky in brilliant hues as Sarah watched the last of the alien ships retreat from Earth's orbit. Their crystalline forms, once a symbol of overwhelming technological superiority, now moved awkwardly through space like wounded animals fleeing a predator. Final telemetry confirms they're maintaining escape velocity, Alex reported from her station. They're not even attempting to restore their quantum network anymore. Each ship is operating independently, albeit poorly. Dr. Patel studied the quantum interference patterns one last time. The elegance of it still amazes me. Their perfect system contained the seeds of its own destruction. All we had to do was introduce a little uncertainty. Speaking of uncertainty, Martinez said, entering the control room with a tablet displaying new data, our deep space monitoring stations are picking up interesting signals. The alien retreat is causing quite a stir out there. Sarah moved to examine the readings. These patterns, they're similar to the quantum communications we detected before the invasion, but from different sources, much more distant. Other civilizations watching the show, Martinez suggested, probably quite surprised to see the mighty Zarkax running away from the primitives. The room grew quiet as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just defended Earth. They had demonstrated something unprecedented in the galaxy: the ability to counter quantum-based technology through innovative use of simpler systems. We're already seeing practical applications from what we've learned, Alex said, pulling up new code on her screen. By studying the alien quantum network, we've discovered ways to make our own systems more resilient. Not by pursuing perfect coherence, but by embracing controlled chaos. Sarah nodded, thinking about the research papers she was already preparing. Their technology showed us what's possible with quantum computing, but our victory showed us something more valuable: the importance of maintaining multiple approaches to solving problems. The main display showed live feeds from cities around the world emerging from their shelters. The alien invasion had left its marks. Crystalline debris scattered across landscapes, buildings bearing the scars of advanced weapons, but humanity stood unbroken. Latest report from the recovery teams, Martinez announced. They've secured several intact alien ships. The quantum technology inside them will advance our understanding by decades, but we won't make the same mistakes they did, Sarah finished. We'll integrate it with our existing systems, not replace them. Strength through diversity, not perfection. Dr. Patel pulled up a simulation of a hybrid quantum classical computing system he'd been developing. Imagine the possibilities: quantum processing for tasks that benefit from perfect coherence, traditional computing for those that require adaptation and flexibility. We can have the best of both worlds. Outside the control center, teams of scientists and engineers were already examining the captured alien technology. Earth's defenders had learned valuable lessons about the dangers of over-specialization and the strengths of maintaining technological diversity. New contact, Alex suddenly called out, reading quantum signatures at the edge of the solar system, but different from the Zarkax patterns. They're requesting communication through conventional channels. Sarah exchanged glances with Martinez. They want to talk to us using our technology, not theirs. That's a good sign. First contact, take two. Martinez smiled, this time without the invasion. The quantum interference patterns from the new arrival showed none of the rigid structure they'd seen in the Zarkax systems. Instead, they displayed a harmonious blend of quantum and classical signals, suggesting a civilization that had learned to balance advancement with adaptability. Send a response on all available channels, Sarah decided. Let's show them that humanity is ready for a genuine exchange of ideas. As the sun climbed higher over the Florida coast, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. The invasion had pushed humanity to its limits, but those limits had proved far beyond what anyone, human or alien, had imagined. They had discovered that true advancement came not from pursuing perfection, but from embracing the creative potential of imperfection. The future held new challenges, new opportunities, and new frontiers to explore. But humanity would face them as they always had, with innovation, adaptability, and the understanding that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most powerful of all. The sunrise over Cape Canaveral painted the sky in brilliant hues as Sarah watched the last of the alien ships retreat from Earth's orbit. Their crystalline forms, once a symbol of overwhelming technological superiority, now moved awkwardly through space like wounded animals fleeing a predator. Final telemetry confirms they're maintaining escape velocity, Alex reported from her station. They're not even attempting to restore their quantum network anymore. Each ship is operating independently, albeit poorly. Dr. Patel studied the quantum interference patterns one last time. The elegance of it still amazes me. Their perfect system contained the seeds of its own destruction. All we had to do was introduce a little uncertainty. Speaking of uncertainty, Martinez said, entering the control room with a tablet displaying new data, our deep space monitoring stations are picking up interesting signals. The alien retreat is causing quite a stir out there. Sarah moved to examine the readings. These patterns, they're similar to the quantum communications we detected before the invasion, but from different sources, much more distant. Other civilizations watching the show, Martinez suggested, probably quite surprised to see the mighty Zarkax running away from the primitives. The room grew quiet as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just defended Earth. They had demonstrated something unprecedented in the galaxy: the ability to counter quantum-based technology through innovative use of simpler systems. We're already seeing practical applications from what we've learned, Alex said, pulling up new code on her screen. By studying the alien quantum network, we've discovered ways to make our own systems more resilient. Not by pursuing perfect coherence, but by embracing controlled chaos. Sarah nodded, thinking about the research paper she was already preparing. Their technology showed us what's possible with quantum computing, but our victory showed us something more valuable: the importance of maintaining multiple approaches to solving problems. The main display showed live feeds from cities around the world emerging from their shelters. The alien invasion had left its marks. Crystalline debris scattered across landscapes, buildings bearing the scars of advanced weapons, but humanity stood unbroken. Latest report from the recovery teams, Martinez announced. They've secured several intact alien ships. The quantum technology inside them will advance our understanding by decades, but we won't make the same mistakes they did, Sarah finished. We'll integrate it with our existing systems, not replace them. Strength through diversity, not perfection. Dr. Patel pulled up a simulation of a hybrid quantum classical computing system he'd been developing. Imagine the possibilities: quantum processing for tasks that benefit from perfect coherence, traditional computing for those that require adaptation and flexibility. We can have the best of both worlds. Outside the control center, teams of scientists and engineers were already examining the captured alien technology. Earth's defenders had learned valuable lessons about the dangers of over-specialization and the strengths of maintaining technological diversity. New contact, Alex suddenly called out, reading quantum signatures at the edge of the solar system, but different from the Zarkax patterns. They're requesting communication through conventional channels. Sarah exchanged glances with Martinez. They want to talk to us using our technology, not theirs. That's a good sign. First contact, take two. Martinez smiled, this time without the invasion. The quantum interference patterns from the new arrival showed none of the rigid structure they'd seen in the Zarkax systems. Instead, they displayed a harmonious blend of quantum and classical signals, suggesting a civilization that had learned to balance advancement with adaptability. Send a response on all available channels, Sarah decided. Let's show them that humanity is ready for a genuine exchange of ideas. As the sun climbed higher over the Florida coast, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. The invasion had pushed humanity to its limits, but those limits had proved far beyond what anyone, human or alien, had imagined. They had discovered that true advancement came not from pursuing perfection, but from embracing the creative potential of imperfection. The future held new challenges, new opportunities, and new frontiers to explore. But humanity would face them as they always had, with innovation, adaptability, and the understanding that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most powerful of all.